this panel today. I'm giving it in a specific order. First we have Keela. We have Rosianna. Lex. And Anna. Alright, so how many of you have seen this panel before at Vidcon? Nice! Okay, so that means a lot of you have not. Welcome. So what we're going to be doing today is talking about women on YouTube and kind of some of the issues that women deal with in digital spaces, some of the challenges that arise because we are women. We're going to talk about a lot of different angles on that, what that means, and hopefully give you some resources, some tools, some ideas to be better engaged in this community and to really just lift each other up as women and to rock this space. So this panel, I just want you all to jump in, wherever you feel comfortable, and we'll just have a free-flowing conversation. So you want to start by introducing yourselves?
I'll start. Hi, everybody. Happy Vidcon. I'm Akila Hughes. Thank you. It's pretty big, right? Giant hair. So my channel's about how big my head is. I do comedy on YouTube, so I do a lot of sketches and social commentary. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to be here again.
Hi, I'm Rosianna. I've been making YouTube videos since 2006, so I've been seeing the YouTube world grow and change. It's been really fun. By day, I work for John Green, and that's kind of mostly it, really.
My name is Lex. I make comedy videos, and by day, I work in social media. And like everybody else, I'm so psyched to be here.
Hi guys, I'm Anna Kana. Thank you. I do a lot of sketch comedy on YouTube, and also last year I've been diving into short films and narrative.
Beautiful. I'm so happy to have you all here today. And my name's Lacey Green. I have a sex ed channel on YouTube. Talking about a lot of vagina stuff. That's one thing. So let's talk, y'all. Let's start out with kind of the big open-ended question here. What do you think are some of the most pressing issues that are facing women on YouTube this year?
I think there's a lack of broadness and diversity when raising up women in the things like the bigger platforms like YouTube's Vidcon program, which put YouTubers on billboards and things like that. I would like to see them pulling from a wider range of audiences and genres, but also, race and body type and just more variety there.
Honestly, what I find most challenging as a woman on YouTube is how often you will get comments about your body and how badly someone wants to do things to your body, or it's not good enough to do those things to you. And I like to think that it would get easier over time, but unfortunately, dealing with those comments mentally has been my most challenging issue.
I think as YouTubers have become more like mainstream celebrities, words that I don't like using, it's been quite common for them to be put in niches. So as people have been writing books and as people are becoming presenters, I think it's quite difficult for women to like carve their own space out in those areas and stuff. I agree.
Anyone else want to add anything there? All right. Cool. Actually, I think, Anna, let's talk about comments for a second. This is the running theme every year. We always have to talk about comments because I think a lot of people, they don't realize for women on YouTube, YouTube is your workplace, right? And when we talk about workplace harassment, people take it somewhat more seriously when we're talking about a physical space. For us, we're immersed in these spaces online all the time, and we're bombarded with these kinds of messages. You've all dealt with it, I'm sure. Can you speak to your experiences, and also what are some tips that you have for people to deal with it, and what can we do as a community to solve this problem?
I think we have to realize that no one would ever say this to your face. Also, a lot of people that put comments on the internet don't think anyone's ever going to read it, and they think that there's going to be no repercussions. My favorite stories are when someone will tweet at like a music artist, like, hey, your concert sucks. And then the artist will find security who will search then for the person based on that profile photo and kick them the F out of the concert. Because what you put online has real life consequences. Whether or not you think someone is going to read it, they will probably read it. You're talking to another human being. And it is so hard for people to remember that. You think you're just throwing out random thoughts into a vacuum. And so I think for me personally, realizing that this is someone who's just saying something out of their own anger in their life and not directly towards me helps quite a bit. But I also wish that on the other end of that spectrum, more people would comment thinking that, oh, is this something I would say to someone's face? Is this something I'd be brave enough to actually say out loud in public?
I think that one of the biggest problems, yeah, that was great.
David, we get David.
I think that one of the biggest problems and a big part of the reason why we keep coming back to this is that when it becomes very, very serious and you have repeated commenters and people coming through email, often comments of a very like sexual nature or a violent nature, and it becomes stalking or it becomes repeated harassment in that way, people can't talk about it publicly. Women can't talk about it publicly because it gives them the attention that that's what they're seeking in part. And it's just limited the ability for everyone to move forward, but also for everyone to stress that this is a serious safety issue that is holding back so many women creators across the board, like in all industries, but particularly in this because creators are so accessible in that way.
I think in a lot of ways a unique experience being the brown thing on the stage. But truly, like, my experience with the comments is more of, and I think my distaste for the comments comes from YouTube's power to help with sectioning them out. And, you know, for me, in the workplace harassment sort of way, it's like I am getting comments directly to my email that are saying, you know, the worst racial slurs you've ever heard in your entire life. And, you know, people are very creative. Like, racist people are so creative. And, you know, the things that they say, it's like, I can't block everything they want to tell me. And so my mission has sort of been to, like, constantly be pushing it in their face. If I get something that is just, like, overtly horrible and it comes through the filter, I make sure to send it to YouTube and I'm like, this is a priority. Like, I feel like I'm gonna look back in 5 years and I'm gonna realize how silly it is that I have to beg for people to recognize my humanity on a site that I'm using. And so I just feel like, you know, the only thing I can do is try to bring it to the attention of people who can change it.
I was talking to my sister quite a while ago because Akila guest hosted an episode of a show we do called Mental Floss. And that's normally hosted by guys who are white, and that's just because those are our regular hosts, and the difference in comments, like the amount of racism and vitriol that came into that comment section was astonishing. And I was talking to my sister who's an artist, and she was suggesting that you print out and screenshot every single comment and put it up on the walls of a gallery, and then invite Google to come and see it. So maybe we should do that.
I'm doing that tonight.
Got our plans made for later. That's an excellent idea. What do you think, so on the comments front, what do you think are some of the other differences between, you're talking about how men are hosting a lot of these shows. We know that YouTube, it does have a lot of women, but it is still a male-dominated space, particularly in the industry. It's very, like, when you're doing this as a job, it's very male-dominated. What do you think are some of the other differences between women's experiences and men's experiences in these digital spaces and on YouTube?
I mean, I definitely think men are seen for what they bring to the table. So if their channel is comedy, people will comment on comedy. Or if their channel is about science, they will ask them questions about science. And with women, it doesn't matter what you are talking about. You are always your face, you are always your body, you are always reduced to something that is completely irrelevant to your content. And I think, you know, it's really sad because there are so many young fans, especially at Vidcon, especially, you know, who are here and who are big fans of it, and they see it. They see it all the time. They see, it's become normalized, and I think that that's an important thing to address, and hopefully they will.
Other folks?
I also feel like with women, if you reach any kind of success, people are quick to dismiss it as attributed to something else. Like in my personal experience, a lot of people say I'm only popular because of who I dated. It had nothing to do with the fact that I updated every day or tried to create a lot of content that really spoke to me. It was always about, oh, you're pretty. Oh, you dated so-and-so. And so it's a weird struggle because no one ever says that about a guy who's dating a popular female YouTuber. But ultimately you have to realize that
to a popular.
What?
Or is related to a popular female YouTuber. That's it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
All right. Any other thoughts about moving beyond comments and looks stuff, like as industry professionals? Is there anything else that's come up? Because the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like YouTube really is exploding, and there's a ton of people, Hollywood and YouTube are very much dating right now, and I do think that that is posing some new challenges for people behind the scenes.
I think a lot of stuff that women get is often disguised as constructive criticism, which is just a weird thing when people feel like they can comment on women's bodies. So I often get like, you get a comment that says, you know, I'm trying to help you. You look terrible today and I want to help you, so I'm telling you that. Like, or you know, you look like you've gained weight or you look tired. I'm just helping you. But again, that's just another weird part of how people feel like they just have some kind of ownership over women's bodies.
I would also add that though that YouTube, what I love about YouTube is that it is so individual and everyone can be themselves, and the things that you think are weird about yourself are the things that people will celebrate. And that was sort of where YouTube came from, and that was the whole history of it, and that's why most of us were really excited. And the more commercial YouTube becomes, the more it seems like it's leaning into traditional media's norm. So it's like, oh, remember when there were like quirky teens who were like a little insecure and they were like, you know, not polished, but they were just excited to share their views with the world. And it seems like now, where that used to be what YouTube would promote about itself, in a lot of ways, they're shying away. They're like, well, these are the talented people, they're the beautiful people, please give them lots of money, please give us advertising money. And so it's, I think, very frustrating for people who are creative and who came up in the beginning when it was like really new and fun, to see that it's in a lot of ways starting to fall behind even traditional media in terms of progressiveness.
I think we kind of make a lot of excuses for traditional media, and I'm afraid that that's going to happen with YouTube. We don't challenge it, we don't expect it to change. Like, there's so much that I want YouTube to change and to work on and to fix, and the comment section is just the beginning of that. But I worry that as it becomes kind of more of a passive vehicle in this whole thing, and it's just like, oh, this is just what YouTube is, and it merges with that traditional media, there will be a slightly lost sense of being able to hold it to account and have development in that platform. That's what we're about.
So, in all of these issues, we're talking about the comments, we're talking about some of the subtle digs that you deal with in the name of improving it, the excuses that come up to not push us to do better. How do you think that some of these issues are compounded for women who are at the axes of multiple identities that are marginalized? So, being a woman of color, being a gay or lesbian woman, trans women, women with disabilities. How are these issues, in your perception, affecting the YouTube community, and what can we do about it?
I wrote an article for Fusion about, about the lack of diversity, specifically in their advertising campaigns on YouTube. But really all I did was count the posts on YouTube's Twitter handle in the month of February, which is Black History Month. And less than, I think, 5% of them were people of color, and they were all famous. Like, imagine that you're seeing, you know, the biggest white, mostly male YouTubers, and then you're a person of color, and the only person they're supporting is Drake or Beyonce. It's very discouraging. And so I think, I mean, in a lot of ways, I talked to YouTube about it, or the article, and though they didn't have much to say then, I do think that they're trying to make strides to make it better. I think it definitely hit home and really resonated. But you know, just in the individual sense, for people who are young and who are, you know, maybe like all the things you said, or bi, or asexual, or, you know, whatever identity, it's just really scary and kind of discouraging not to see yourself reflected, not to see yourself celebrated, when, you know, this is supposed to be the platform for everyone. And I think, you know, the only way we fix it and make it better is to keep putting our faces out there. If you think that you are different, if you are at an intersection of any number of things, please put yourself on the internet. Please be that person. I try to make content for a 16-year-old me because it wasn't on traditional media, and I think the more people who do it, the better the site will be and the better the world will be.
And I think that as creators, we all have a role in kind of discovery and sharing, whether that's sharing a range of channels that you love from a range of different type of people with your friend, or whether that's sharing it through Twitter. I think that that can make a surprising amount of difference, and I think that that's kind of, we're saying a lot of things that are negative and bad about YouTube, but that's something that's where we have some power, I think.
Really, like, I mean, if I can just piggyback on that, I think YouTube's all about subscribers, right, and numbers, and I think a lot of people get lost in that. And, you know, the people who have supported me the most, who have made the biggest difference in subscribers, are people who, you know, like, objectively probably stand to gain nothing from sharing my content. They're more popular than me, they already have an audience, and they are privileged. They don't need to share and help. And I think I just want to thank those people and also like encourage you, like, listen, if you don't subscribe to someone who doesn't look like you, please make it a mission by the end of this weekend to find someone who's different than you, find their channel, look at their content, and share it with someone. Like, that's the only thing that's missing. It's the only reason why less people who are diverse get to be even on stages like this.
I've actually had a very positive relationship with YouTube in terms of Asians being represented. There's a reason why Niga Higa is one of the largest channels. We rarely see Asians represented in traditional media unless, you know, every time I go out for an audition, it's like computer hacker or like the geeky best friend. And that's all I can pretty much go out for because they always have a token Asian written on shows. But on the internet, people like Natalie Tran who have a beautiful, Natalie Tran, right? She has a beautiful comedic voice and she's able to express that she is so much more than the stereotype. And I think that Asians have had a lot of success on YouTube because we are the best fans. We will love you so hard when we love you. And to be able to see our own face on the internet has been such a privilege and such a joy and makes me so excited. I do want to encourage anyone who is an Asian, female or male, to create your content, because I've noticed with a lot of my fans, it's like, I want to make a video, but I never will, because it's terrifying. And you know, the more we get out there, the more we make, the more of each other we'll see, and the more common it'll become. So really, don't fall into that stereotype of having to be unique, and find your own voice on the internet.
Beautiful. Okay. I want to switch gears here in a second. Before I do that, I wanted to let you all know that I'm actually following the #Women at Vidcon, and we're going to be taking your questions shortly. I want to make sure we have lots of time. So tweet us, and I will present your questions to the panel here in just a few minutes. Okay, so there is an issue that comes up for me pretty much nonstop, and a big issue that I kind of accidentally stumbled into this last year. And it's something we actually talked about on the panel last year as well, which is issues of sexual assault and harassment on YouTube. And using social media platforms to harass women to take advantage of fans, right? This is a serious, serious concern, and I think that a lot of people, including myself, kind of feel a bit helpless about what do I do? When the sandpepper issue came up last year, I was completely stumped. I literally sat at my computer on my bed, just like, what do I do? Oh God, what do I do? You know, and it's a very helpless feeling. I'm hoping that, you know, I want to have a little bit of conversation about what you think we can do together as a community and as individuals to address these prank channels that grab women in the streets, that make out with them without consent, that grab their bodies and call it a joke and dismiss it that way, right? Lighten up, it's not a big deal, when really it's not a joke. You're still violating someone, you're still doing all of these things that in any other context someone would be like, whoa, that's not okay. What do we do?
you're feeling all of that, I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this. This is a big problem. I think that there are several things. I keep going back to holding YouTube and Google to account, but I think that they do need to set out, even if it's not something that they can practically enforce, there'd be more of a push to set out what is acceptable and isn't acceptable on the platform, with a move to being able to enforce and protect fans and strangers and just everyone. Just kind of step away from that culture that this is a platform where you can display that you can rope anyone in the street and have it be a prank and comedy video. Because I know that YouTube doesn't want to be associated with that, however many views or ads it gets, like that's not beneficial to them. So that would be one thing. The other side of it is channels like Lacey's channel, education side of it. I think I want to see more content funded and created about sexual education, but also sexual assault. And that's something that we saw coming up in the kind of 6 months or so after these things first came about. And we actually just launched this channel called Engage Uplift, which is hosted by the wonderful Kat. And it's fantastic because it's something that goes beyond YouTube, right? This is just, YouTube is kind of like a microcosm of this situation. This happens every single day. And in a way, not that I can ever say that it was a good thing that this happened, but in a way it's brought some light on it. And it's put that in a position where we can have these conversations with people as these examples and hopefully help and protect more people in that way.
I think it's really important that
Yes, amen. Yeah.
I think it's really important to just make it clear that people who do these kinds of things aren't welcome in any aspect of this community. So it's not just, it's you know, the brands that work with creators, it's the events, it's the people who watch. If we all take quite a strong stand against it and say, this is a safe community, and if you make it unsafe, you are just full stop not welcome here, I think it's really important that we do that.
Yeah. So real. Can I be real for a minute? I feel like I'm entering this Betty White stage in my life where I'm just like, fuck everything. And so, like, and we get there. We all get there at different points. But I truly think, you know, like, instead, I mean, feel your feelings, but like, be pissed. Don't be ashamed of being annoyed by it. Call it out on Tumblr, call it out on Twitter, tell everyone, like, this is a problem. And I think that's how you deter that behavior, because so much of it is celebrated, like, ooh, it's a joke. And I'm like, you're not a comedian. There's nothing funny about touching strangers without their consent. There's nothing funny about building an audience based on oppressing people. And the more that we tell them it's wrong, and the more we go out of our way and are not afraid and will not back down, I think the more things will actually start to change.
Everything they said.
Yes, those are all great. And I also want to, like, for me, I think a big part of it is hitting home that these people, when you subscribe to someone, you vote for them, in a sense. When you watch their videos, when you click on their stuff, that is a vote. And it's kind of like, you know, boycotting with your dollars, in a sense, because that is a type of currency in this space. So we need to encourage people to not partake, right, and to not support that stuff as well in a really overt way, saying it, but also not clicking on it and stuff. And with the Sam Pepper situation, it was like, we were talking about it, but then more people were clicking on it, and it was like, we can't win everything, right? But it is, I think it's something to keep in mind. Okay, any other thoughts on that issue?
Yeah, I think it's just very important not to be passive about it, because I think a lot of people, we like to say that we can separate the art from the creator, which I think people, when they talk about that, maybe mean, I can still listen to a song by that person, but there's a huge difference between something that you do in private and something where you like actively support somebody and make it very known that you are still a fan of theirs. And you mean you're also contributing to their earnings, so I think we just have to take a strong stand about that.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Okay. So I have one more question, open-ended question before I go to audience comments. Again, the hashtag is #Women At Vidcon on Twitter, and I'll be following it and pitching your questions to the panel. Open-ended general question. There are a lot of female creators in the audience. Period. What advice do you have for them, given some of the things that we are dealing with as a community?
I have a whole talk about this on Saturday, but ultimately, don't be afraid to suck. How many of us are brilliant at something the first time that we do it? You know, it's so weird that we are so geared to making fun of people's failures, and yet that is the only real way that we learn. So don't be afraid to make a bunch of like really bad, like my first vlog, I just sang on the way to the grocery store, and that was it. You have to just keep making stuff and feel your way through it, and eventually you'll kind of find a groove, and you'll start to understand what you want to say, and you'll get better at how to execute saying it. So don't be afraid that, oh, someone's gonna dislike this video, or I'm gonna get a bad comment, or it's gonna suck, because 99%, like the first 20 videos we all made were probably horribly embarrassed of. But that is really the only way that you will build a following, is consistently creating content that speaks to you.
I would say reach out to other creators, especially if they're also starting at the same time. It's so helpful to have a supportive network that you can kind of bounce things off. And also, if you're having a bad day, if you get one of those bad comments, you can be like, look, this really upset me, and discuss it with that person and discuss how to proceed. I think that things like Vidcon are a great place to meet those people. So, you know, see the people next to you and start chatting to them and see whether you guys all want to start making videos together, which you should.
Yeah, I mean, when I started out, I was equally as embarrassing, if not more. And I think that there's something really endearing about it. I think like actually trying it and doing the thing and just committing to doing the thing, even if it's bad. And really don't read the comments until you feel like they're constructive. I think there's a long part in the beginning, especially like, I don't know if you all are from small areas. I was from Kentucky, and no one got it. I think they're finally getting internet in Kentucky. But like no one was supportive. They thought it was weird. They're like, what the hell are you doing? Why is this like important to you? Why are you like making a video for 5 people? And what I think that taught me, and what I still try to remember when I'm making videos, is that I'm making them for myself. Like at the end of the day, if I don't like what I'm doing, if I don't find it funny, if I don't get something out of it, then why am I doing it? Like I could watch like Mad Men or something on Netflix. So I just feel like really, do stuff that you're proud of, do stuff that you love. You might start out and like one of the biggest comments I got, because I am black and have big hair, is, oh, you're trying to be like Glozell. Which if you've ever seen my channel, God love Glozell, but I am not Glozell. We are polar opposites. And I think, that was very discouraging for a long time, was the comparison and people thinking it was not authentic and that I was like, trying too hard. And the moment you stop giving a crap about people who don't have your best interest at heart, you really find your stride and start making some really good shit.
I think it's important not to be intimidated, because YouTube can seem like a very shiny, fancy place sometimes, and everybody has perfect hair and everybody has, an amazing camera, but I feel like something just fell from the ceiling. Everybody starts somewhere, as everybody's been saying, and you don't have to feel like you have all the fanciest equipment if you're making good content, which obviously you won't at first, but when you're making good content, that will shine through.
Okay, so I'm trying to load the tweets. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna go into the Twitter questions now. There's a ton of them. You guys have really awesome questions. I'm glad that we're all kind of on the same page about the things that we're thinking about. Katie Wigglesworth asks, for the male supporters who want to change gender disparities on YouTube, what kind of help is good and what kind of help is harmful?
Okay.
Katie!
So I did a panel about women on YouTube at like Playlist Live a few years ago, and for some reason there were like a lot of dudes on the panel. So it sort of became like all of us educating dudes about how to be nice to women. It was really strange, but one of the things that was proposed, they were like, I just don't know a lot of funny women, or I don't know any black people, or how can I support women if I just want them to be a side character? Like it's not about them. Like women aren't funny. It's always some reductive thing that makes no sense. And I think the only thing I can say is, look, if you have a platform or you know people who are funny, it is your responsibility as a man to uplift them. I genuinely think that the people who are in power, who have, an easier time getting to the top, should always be trying to uplift those beneath them. And if I was like a very successful white British blogger, I would go out of my way to find women who are good and uplift them and share them with my audience, because otherwise we're just maintaining the status quo.
Something that I find really helpful, that I think Lex actually has mentioned in the last few years of panels, is taking the time to comment on other women's videos and on just people you want to raise up. Because when you do read the comments and you have that support there, and just knowing that someone is paying more attention to you more than what you look like, what your body type is, or whatever, that's so helpful. It's just kind of a small kindness. And if you can do that for anyone's video you watch and like even a little bit, then I think that's a really good way forward.
I just think not speaking for women is very important, because I've had a lot of that. And also, telling women what feminism is and what their experiences are is super duper not helpful.
I think you need equalism.
Okay, yeah. It's just not helpful, and it's happened a lot, and it doesn't make you a feminist to try and shout louder than the woman next to you about her experiences. Say it! Say it about people in the back. I'm just going to tell it again.
Literally, please stop making videos that were like, I finally understood women after I wore high heels in public. We're like, no! Shut up about it. Like, okay, women experience their lives and they're going through it, and everybody has individual problems, they have their strengths. But please don't reduce our experience to a nugget where you're like, oh, I realized women were people, so please subscribe to me because I'm a good guy. No, link to someone else, please. Thank you.
Stop saying we're pretty. Stop. How many times do you tell a guy he's pretty? Tell someone they're funny. Tell someone that they're smart. Anytime my boyfriend says I'm pretty, I say, thanks, I didn't do anything. It's all genetics. We're taught so much to take women at face value. Oh, if she's uglier, she's probably funnier. Oh, fat people are funnier. There are these terrible stereotypes in place that pretty women can't be funny or pretty women are airheads. Stop thinking about it that way. Start looking at who people really are and get the notion that attractiveness is the first thing that matters. Get that fuck out of your head.
So maybe I'm gonna make a comment face. All right, great. Those were great questions. Okay, Sophia on Twitter says, what's your opinion about how mostly all women on YouTube are thought to be beauty gurus? The idea that if you're gonna make videos as a woman, you should be a beauty guru.
There's two sides to it, I think, because there's one part that's beauty and fashion and makeup are for some reason, because they're associated with women, decided to be unimportant or silly or trivial, and I think that's something that we really have to actively reject. I'm sad that there's not a beauty guru for the panel this year, because I would love to have that perspective as well. But yeah, no, I think that's something that we really have to challenge. On the other hand, as we were saying earlier, boxing women into anything or expecting women to be something and only that thing is just playing into the hands of people who want, women over here doing their own thing and talking to each other and not talking to anything else. Of course, that's terrible, because why would women talk to women? Women are the worst. And then moving forward. Yeah.
I mean, just to add to that, maybe the other side of the coin too, though, is there's a lot of money for women in that realm. You know what I mean? It is very enticing to think, if I just talked about my hair for 5 minutes, 6 times a week, I can make so much more money than if I'm funny or if I'm interested, if I'm talking about something that's socially relevant. And I think so it's reinforced, right? There are people who that is their passion and are great at it, and they deserve your time and your energy, and they do teach you stuff. I learned how to do my eyebrows, and it's changed the game. Clearly, they're worth your time and they're worth investing in. At the same time, I think, I'm always sort of like big picture system. We need to encourage people to be investing in women outside of what they look like. We need to stop saying, oh, it's okay for L'Oreal to give millions of dollars to people who will talk about lipstick, but no one is going to fund the people who are, really challenging the way we see ourselves and the way, people exist in the world. So I think, it is great, and I love that diversity of content, and I have too many favorite beauty gurus. But I think, on a base level, it's a really good deal if you want to get into that and you want to just make money, or you want to have a fan base that loves you because you can make their face beautiful and make your own face, really, really cute and look different. But we can't all be beauty gurus. Like, there should be a diversity of talent for women on YouTube and diversity of money and funds for that too.
To what Rosanna said, I think feminine things are often rejected as not real. Like, it's not really a real part of YouTube. I actually was on a panel a couple of years ago where a guy told me that beauty YouTubers weren't part of YouTube, which I'm pretty sure he would eat his words now. But it's just a rejection of, if it's something that women do, then it's not a real thing, it's just a side thing, it's not part of YouTube, it's just a whole other section of YouTube. And I think we have to reject that, because it's ridiculous.
All right, Julie.
Can I also just add to that? I'm just thinking on the entrepreneurial side of things, like women making money. Something that I would think about a lot is how a lot of the time men can be very proactive because they have this kind of built-in sense of entitlement isn't quite the right word, but it's along those lines. Like, they know that they can ask for more money, they know that they can reach out to someone and go do something, and that's been kind of across the board the case with people seeking opportunities and collaborations and partnerships. It's really exciting to me to see so many women on YouTube taking that path and saying, by what they're collaborating with and what they're doing, I'm important and I'm valuable and what I do is valuable. And so it's not about waiting for them to come to you. However big your audience, you can always reach out to someone and ask if they want to collaborate on a project. The worst they can say is no, and then you go back 6 months later and ask them again.
Any other lingering thoughts on the beauty guru issue? Okay. So Julie wants to know, what's the greatest fear you've had to overcome in order to step into your full creative self-expression on YouTube?
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, so there's a lot of things, and I think it has to do sort of with like growing up and really learning to accept myself outside of what strangers on the internet think. I think it's great, and I love the people who are supportive, and I really like the people who drive me to be better. But we have to realize that there are realities in the world, right? I really want to do this like crazy experiment where I just post the exact same video, but have my very pretty like long hair brunette friend with her like blue eyes do a video, and have her the thumbnail, and do the exact same script and have myself the thumbnail, just see the difference in numbers. I think for a long time I was deterred from even making stuff because I'm like, oh, this is like for white people. Like, white people excel here. I don't see myself. Lozelle is, she's wonderful, but she's very much an adult. She's not, in her early 20s. She's not trying to navigate this new space. She's really found her voice already. And I think you learn to stop listening. Who cares? People who comment who don't have even like a picture, like it's just a blue man that's like, I don't like you, you're brown. I'm like, okay, I don't even, you're not a person. You are literally like some weird virus on my computer. And so I think you just get to the point where you're like, I don't see it. The end game is much more important to me than whatever your bullshit opinion is.
How many people here have wanted a YouTube career by a show of hands? How many people have actually made a video? How many of you have stuck with it for 3 months? For 6 months? For a year? 2006, good for you! I think the biggest challenge sometimes for us is to keep doing doing something when we don't see instant results. And even beyond that, to keep doing something when you run out of opinions on all the topics that you can possibly think of. But you have to keep pushing yourself and digging deeper and thinking, what do I think about the world? What do I think about myself? What do I think about the people around me? And so I think really, for me, it was going through every single topic until I ran out of ideas and then making a video about running out of ideas and trying to figure out where to go from there really helped hone my voice.
I second that. And I think that I just want to hit home that you should never, ever, ever feel afraid to say what you think, to dress how you want, to be who you want. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You know, that your channel is your own space. And for me, talking about a lot of controversial topics all the time, I really had to like overcome the fear of people hating me. you have to learn to not give a shit, which you do eventually, not care because you do it for yourself. You know, and you find your own voice. So give yourself permission to find your voice, whatever that is. And maybe you're not going to know what your voice is right away, or what your thoughts and opinions, or what kind of content you want to do right away. Play around, have fun with it, right? And once you find something that really inspires you, keep going, right? So all of these hands drop off. Keep going, keep your hand in the air, because it doesn't happen overnight. This is YouTube's a product of a lot of work. It's a lot more work than I think people realize sometimes. Which is, thank you. You guys are cute. Okay, so we have a couple more minutes here. Gino has a good question. How do you feel about using female body parts as thumbnails on YouTube? Yeah, like
Like a hand.
Like a
huge
boob?
hip,
Boob.
or like boob and
Just one boob.
I don't have to worry about that.
I've seen male YouTubers do that a lot. And I think it's kind of different when it's your own body parts. So I've seen like daily vloggers and stuff who use like their girlfriend's boobs as the thumbnail as the video, and the title is something strange and demeaning. And I just, you know, that's not great. I think you can do what you want with your body. So if I want to put a picture of my elbow as the thumbnail of my video, it's about as saucy as it gets, then that's fine. But I do think like men using women's body parts as commodities for thumbnails is a little not great.
It just goes back to like, you're an object. I can like use you for my game and put you at the front. It's strange, and it changes the tone again. It's like another thing that just contributes to that strange culture of women just kind of being secondary.
Yeah, and like set dressing, kind of just accessories.
I mean, I agree with you. I really, like, I get it. Like, you will get more views if that's the case, and I understand the desire to see numbers on your page. And I mean, especially if it's your own body, like, who am I to tell you not to? Like, whatever, put whatever you want on the internet. I am not your mother. But I really do think it just perpetuates all of those problems, right? Because the things that will get the most clicks will be those things. And so people will reduce all of the women on YouTube to that. Why didn't you put your boobs out? Why aren't you doing this thing? And so it's a double-edged sword, because it's not your responsibility to fix the patriarchy, but I do think that like it kind of reinforces the idea that, oh, well, you will be worth more if you put those things on the internet. So it just kind of sucks. To me, like, I would just say hashtag sucks.
And I also think that like that is the thing that like all views aren't equal, you know? Like just because the numbers are growing doesn't mean that that's a valuable, important, engaged view. And I think that seeking just the numbers alone, even though that can give you clout in other ways, I think that can be a tripping point, because then you stop doing it for you and you start doing it for someone else, and you start kind of following a very formulaic approach. And I just think that doesn't help you individually.
Somebody wants to know, is it better to respond to people who make racist and sexist comments on your videos, or should you just let it go?
Sometimes it can be quite satisfying to respond, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do, because a lot of the time people are just after attention. Yeah, I had another point, but I've lost it.
I think you have to play it by ear and see what's good for you. If it's draining you, if it's having an effect on your well-being, which it very very likely will, because it can get overwhelming. Take the time to go into, I mean, you shouldn't even have to do this in the street, you shouldn't even have to do this, but there's a blacklist setting on YouTube. You can go in and blacklist certain words, and it just filters all those out. And it just kind of, but then you have to go through them. If you want to check that some other words aren't being put in there. So there's all these extra levels where you're still seeing a concentration of those comments. And sometimes there have been periods where I'm not feeling so great this week or this month, so I'm just not going to look at comments, and it sucks for all the wonderful people who are commenting and leaving these very thoughtful comments. But if you don't have the energy, and if it's not going to help you at that moment in time, don't be afraid to just take a step back. I think that's,
I found my own point. I have a couple of times I've confronted people about things they said about me on Twitter, and actually quite a few times people are instantly so apologetic, and sometimes that happens in YouTube comments as well, because they don't realise that you're actually reading things. They completely disconnect you and they don't see you as a person. So it can kind of help to humanise you a little bit more, for people to understand that you really are a person, but only if it's good for your mental well-being should you ever wade into the comments.
Again, I'm never like very specific. I don't have like my actual set of answers, but I do think like it can be very satisfying to drag someone's ass across the internet when they're ignorant as fuck. I'm sorry. Let's just say there are times when it is so good. Like a really quick example. I did a video about having like racial discussion fatigue, where you're just tired of explaining that you're a human and that maybe people should just shut up. And I got this comment that was like, well, you would never want to live in Africa. And I was like, yeah, well, what does that mean? Well, like, first of all, it's a gigantic continent. So it's like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of places I would live there. They have beautiful houses and gorgeous. I mean, it's really stupid. But so for that, I basically just listed like all of the things I would love to do in Africa on a bucket list. And I'm like, if you would like to put the $5,000 flight and also all of those shots and like tests you have to go through, I will absolutely visit Africa for you. Thank you. Love to hear from the fans. Like, you know, I kind of go back and forth because it can be so soul-sucking. It really can. Seeing the racist things, honestly, can take you out of why you made a video in the first place. I did this other video about cultural appropriation, and I love it. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever done. It's really, really just well shot and like a script that I'm proud of. And there are a lot of horrible comments because lots of people are racist, and racist people are bold on the internet and cowards in real life. And I think I would read the comments repeatedly, and I forgot after a while like that it was on a video that I had done that I really liked. Like, I just kept reading it, and I'm like, I hate you, and why would you say that, and block, 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 block. I'm like, wait a minute. This video is awesome, I really love it. Delete and move on. Like, I think it depends on where you are in life and exactly how much it's weighing on you, but like, don't be afraid to block them, and also, if you really have a good comeback, it can be real satisfying to just make them look stupid. Woo!
I think it's weird that internet bullying is the only bullying we tell people to ignore, right? Like any other time that you're bullied, people are like, stand up for yourself. All you need to do to make a bully stop is to stand up. And yet whenever you get comments, everyone's like, oh, ignore it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't affect your life. And yet you will carry that with you all day until you think of the perfect response. And what I've found is it's best to just respond in a if a comment really gets to you, if you have a really sick burn, do it. Because it will just make you feel better. But otherwise, it's just good to respond to people. Because like, I was recently in Ant-Man, and I had like this little part. I had this little part at the end, and someone tweeted and tagged me and said, oh, the first thought I had when I saw Anna Akana in Ant-Man was, whose dick did she suck to get that tiny role? And I was like, well, thanks for tagging me, asshole. But second, I just responded and I said, hey, it's called auditioning. And he responded like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't, oh my God. And he immediately backpedaled and apologized. And that's not always gonna happen. But if someone insults you like that, it's totally fine to stand up for yourself. I'm so tired of people telling you to ignore the comments. If someone says something that really pisses you off, stand up for yourself. It's not up to you to carry that around all day and have that imaginary conversation in your head until you win. Fuck up.
I think that when it comes to the comments, there's no one size fits all. Is kind of what I'm hearing here. It depends on your personality. It depends on the type of person you are. Anna, maybe it feels really good to you to go off on someone. For me, that doesn't feel good. So maybe you're Anna, maybe you're Lacey, maybe you're somewhere else on the spectrum, right? You have to figure out the best way that you can manage what's coming on your channel, right? Whatever that is. So for me, sometimes it's just not going into the comments. If I know that it's going to be an absolute explosion because of what I'm talking about, which is a lot, I'm not going to do it. Or I'll do it, at the very beginning when I know the people that are very engaged. People in this audience, you're very engaged with what we're talking about. You're leaving insightful comments, and you're giving me feedback that's really helpful. When it gets out to the broader internet, I found the comment section becomes less and slowly just a complete mess, right? So I think you have to figure out what works for you. It's okay to not wade into comments. It's okay to respond. It's okay to do whatever makes you feel good about your work and help you deal with it. And maybe you're gonna have to experiment, right? You're gonna have to experiment a little bit, try responding and say, oh, well, that actually made me feel worse. Let's try something different next time. And always, I think it's important to have someone to talk to about stuff. If you're going hard on YouTube, this is your thing right now, or for a while, hopefully, right? Talk to someone else offline and vent about it. That can be very therapeutic as well. Don't internalize all that crap inside yourself and let it fester, right? Let someone else share that with you. All right. Thank you. Okay, so we're getting really close to ending time here. I just want to cap off on a positive note and okay, well this complete no. I think these are really important things we're talking about, and I do want to leave you all feeling, ready to go take on the world, and it's a bit of a process sometimes figuring out how to do that in a digital space. Amanda wants to know, speaking specifically to imposter syndrome, feeling like you're not good enough for your audience or whatever, and also a couple of other people had tweeted about body image issues, feeling insecure on camera. How do you deal with these things? How do you find confidence to just keep going forward with your art?
I definitely found that kind of faking it until I made it really helped. So telling yourself that you're great and telling yourself that you're funny, maybe not out loud in public because sometimes people stare at you. When you're by yourself, if you're with friends, feel free to talk about how great and funny you are. I do it all the time with my friends anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, to keep telling yourself that, and also just as we've touched on before, making content that you really enjoy, because it's so easy to know that you're doing something good. If you would watch it, I watch a video back and I'd say I would watch that video, and that makes me proud of it, and that just makes me proud of the content that I make.
As far as imposter syndrome goes, I think, women are more likely to be susceptible. I think a lot of times they're like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve the good things. I don't deserve the nice comments. I don't, I haven't earned it. And I think what people forget is YouTube has been around for a decade. TV has been around for a lot longer than that. And I think we all deserve it. There's a reason why it's free to use. There's a reason why you can upload and be anyone and do it. And so I definitely think that part of, because sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not ready for it. Maybe you don't want to do it, but I think there are other times when you should just have the confidence. I think Mindy Kaling said it a tall white man. Have the confidence. You deserve all of the good things that happen. And then as far as body image goes, what I always do is look back at my old videos when I was really young. And I think I was a lot more insecure then, and I think it is something you sort of grow to love yourself, and you sort of grow up and grow out of that in a lot of ways. But no one's perfect, and no one's always confident. And a lot of being confident is just telling yourself that you're confident. But when I watch my old videos, I think, wow, that girl would be so excited for me right now. She never thought that anyone would have wanted to watch her, that anyone would share this video, that someone would want to interview her, that these things would be possible. And so it becomes more about competing with yourself. What's the next thing I can do that's going to take over the last 10 things that I did? always be making yourself better, and then the other stuff just sort of falls away. You're not competing with somebody who has skinny arms or long eyelashes. You're competing with yourself.
I think there's a really thin line between self-acceptance and self-improvement, right? And hating yourself takes so much energy. Like, I remember when I first started, people kept commenting on my nostrils. Like, I guess they like flare or something when I talk, and like they look, you can see my brain or some shit. But it's like, I can't change that. Like, what am I gonna do? Go get a nose job? That's expensive. I don't wanna do that. So it's like, you have to learn to like, what can I accept about myself versus what can I improve? And ultimately, I started embracing it. So every time I'd have a video, I'd be like, yeah, come into the back cave, and I'd flare them as hard as I can and like shoot people up into my nose with the zoom. It takes so much energy to be insecure and to be self-conscious and like terrifyingly self-aware of all of your imperfections. Just embrace who you are and improve the aspects of yourself that you can and that you want to be the type of person that you want to be.
And I would just say that if you feel comfortable doing so, make those vulnerabilities part of your video. Those could be so many other people feeling the same way. The fact that we've even got so many tweets in on the same topic. And that can just start a great conversation. You can also build a support network through that as well. So I think once we have more open conversations about this, and once we're given great platforms, whether that's a YouTube video or main stage at Vidcon, it really opens the way towards progressing with all that.
Okay, so we are actually out of time. My input on that would be all of the above, and also be kind to yourself. Okay? Do not beat yourself up in here. Be kind to each other and to yourself. Thank you so much